Yeah, what's Gucci, guys?
Yo,
Yeah, what's Gucci, guys? Any of the guys here? What's Gucci, guys?
I think we're still waiting for the boys to hop in.
I think we're still waiting for the boys to hop in. It's okay. But hop in. Typowy hater. One of the mods is already here. But we need audience. We need the crowd. Where's the crowd at?
Where's the peanut gallery?
Hello. What's up? Greetings. Weird complications. Hello, guys. How's everybody? How's everyone doing? I know it's a bit shocking, isn't it? Though it's Sunday. Sunday. We never stream on Sunday. Well, we were supposed to stream on Sunday, but we fucked it all up. But it's fine. What's up, guys? Tired walking all day. Oh shit! Time to rest up. What do we think of the super? Okay, give me a second. So, by the way, Ring, what is this title? You want to explain to the audience what is this title? What does this title even
we
mean?
gotta do like our SNL opener, you know, with the idea behind the title.
It will be good. I don't even know what the title means.
There's a lot that you can say about it, but I think it's interesting to see from the perspective of how our community, even though a lot of us, I've noticed, don't really subscribe to or are aware of sociological principles, the ideas of sociology.
Welcome.
We do prescribe to socionics, which tries to become an intersection between typology and sociology, right? Overall, we kind of subscribe to these systems that are a lot more focused on us than they are focused on like the community, the people, and how we interact with each other. It's more about what special traits or unicorn like things that I have that are different than other people. What makes me unique, you know? Where sociology kind of forces you to look almost collectively. So I think it's interesting that even within our typology community, there's a sociology, and you can see different types of groups. We have groups that are a lot more casual, where it's like typology is just something that they, as a background, as a backdrop, but they actually just want to talk about like TV shows and you know what they're eating right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
Then we have the circles where it's like super theory heavy, that you gotta prove that you're like one of those type of people, that you're knowledgeable, and then everyone else listens to you. But then until you get that like position, it's like nobody listens to anybody.
It's
And
fucked
that's
up then, right? Because it's like then, and it's so easy in
uh
a sense to gain that influence in some type of way. So and then people will listen to you, and then regardless, even if you're right or wrong, people will listen to you. You know,
it's
in typology.
it's exactly, as long as you sound confident, as long as you, especially if you can get like a
I mean,
vague
even with
quote,
me, to
and
be
then
honest, like to be honest, even me, it's like you shouldn't listen to me just because I talk like a fucking. I know that the sky is blue. You know, like don't do that. Obviously, make sure that. Ideally, what I talk about when we talk about socionics and Enneagram, you should see in the sources. Simple as.
yes,
So you know, like you should be able to confirm it easy by going to Oshra and looking at the sources. So that's what I think.
it's interesting because then we have places like Discord and PDB, which actually changes things up too, like the way people interact with each other. On PDB, it's like those big arguments, like those like page after page of comments. Those have a lot more traction. But on here, it's like you have to kind of grab attention because the chat is like unlimited. You can't make a post, you know? You have to actually grab attention. You gotta say some inflammatory thing and have kind of like the chat revolve around you for a bit for you to really get like what you're trying to say off. And it's so interesting how these kind of like different like social games come out, and you really got to think about the motivations behind why people interact in our communities and they don't, you know. There's also obviously that personal desire of knowing yourself better, improvement, but there's also like people genuinely want to feel like an authority figure. That's an actual type of thing that goes on. We can see it not just, you know, in our spheres, but like all that different types of spheres as well. People want to be perceived as an authority figure. Another person wants to be like someone who's social, funny, popular, but they might not want to be an authority figure. And I think it's so interesting how real life, like almost academic archetypes, come out from our community. Uh, like if you were like in like a science department at an academia, we kind of emulate that in a way, which I think is really interesting. We just lack the structure.
So you were saying it's a big jerk off, like other people are saying. It's just a jerk off.
I think it's funny when we talk about, oh, the intelligentsia, the academia, all
Right.
these organized bodies are like awful, but we kind of over time start emulating them naturally,
We
which I
will,
think is something
which was funny, yeah,
interesting.
because you'll not naturally fall into this pattern.
Hmm.
That's why it's good to sometimes say, listen, I ain't shit. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Don't listen to me. Get the fuck out. That's almost like it's almost like a good thing to do. Like
Yeah.
you will get lost in the sauce, and you don't want to get lost in the sauce. So you need to be careful because you start believing your shit. You know, like that's some people they want to be the authority, and there's no way around it. But and it's easy to fall into that. It's easy to think, you know, I'm the big bad. You know, of course. But the truth is, nah. Yeah, we ain't on shit. You know, that's the reality.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's so interesting. You know, we had the professors come out, you know, people who are like the intellectuals that people follow. We see like the
This is
directors
true.
of the academia, you know, people like you, even though you're not like
Yeah,
a
I mean,
primary researcher, you're kind of like a director, you
it's
know?
the same thing. I'm going on
Yeah,
YouTube, and the fact you have a certain amount of views, certain amount of subscribers, you are considered.
yeah.
Now you are on the blast because you're considered an authority, and if people listen to you, oh, it's not good. It's like,
Ooh.
and it's kind of like you don't need to.
Hmm.
Same. That's what we said. Also with the other schools, like different schools of sociology, you don't need to. You can use whatever school you want. Just be real about it and don't be bullshitting. But that's you know, you don't need to. No one's gonna force you to use classical. We'll let you decide. We know the outcome, but we'll let you decide. Isn't SP8 butchered? That's kind of like asking, isn't X, Y, and Z butchered? Most types are butchered. To be honest, like even doing the most butchered tier list, kind of, it's hard to do that tier list because I feel like most types are butchered. You know, and SP8 is also butchered to a big degree because listen, no one gives a fuck to understand the SP8. The meta of typology. Yeah, he's right. He's right. If you guys are in different online communities, what makes typology unique? Depreciation of the hobby, casuals, and these are things in all communities. That's why I think you should. If I was you, I would not listen. If I was you, you need to understand that's the circle jerk part of those typology communities, and it's probably best for you to avoid that or limit the contact with that kind of or stick to one. But hopefully it's not a jerk off session because it can be a fucking circle jerk. Trust me, heavy one. Not what you think you've seen, heavy one. And it becomes almost like a social game. It's almost just like motherfuckers not they don't even give a fuck. It's not even about the typology, it's about yapping and talking and drama and friends making friends, and it's like a social shit now. It's not a typology, you know? And overall, you'd be better off without being influenced by that and just learning on your own, you know? Actually, it's funny because you might. How much of the influence starts from such communities is crazy, you know? The fact that the whole of typology is about people makes it more personal than online first. People say it's not personal. Who says it's not personal though? Someone says it's not personal, because that's crazy. Like typology is as personal as it gets. Enneagram is so personal, it's fucking insane. I mean, we're talking about your like it breaks down your childhood and how you felt, and what made you feel small and insecure. I mean, this is as intense as it gets. So it's incredibly personal. But now we live in a world where personal is gay. If it's personal, funny. It's oh really, you care? It's funny. We live in a world where that's the case. Now it's kind of weird. It's like, why are you in typology and you don't realize it's personal? It is personal. It's fucking supposed to be personal. Make it personal.
I know where June is coming from though. Many people in our communities, they don't put forward like their personal sentiments. They don't talk about their history. They don't talk about how these types relate to them at a deep fundamental level. They only talk theory. They just interact and try to maybe teach people about it, but they themselves approach it in a very deep personalized way where you don't know much about them, but they're going to tell you everything you need to know about these types. So this is the problem. A lot of people act like it's not personal. It's just what the book says. It's just, this is what it is. They don't think that, if someone relates to a certain type, that they created some sort of emotional connection to that. They're thinking, oh, they're incorrect. And they themselves don't even have an established type, which I think is even funnier. I think everyone should have an established type or actively seeking very strongly one. I don't get this like, oh, I don't have a type. Like, how can you spend so much time here and not have a best, like a best case for you?
But
I always found that really weird.
I think most people admit that they do have some idea about their type. No, like most people have an idea about their type.
I would say that yes and no on PVB. There's a lot of people who are typeless.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've seen that case, like some motherfuckers being there for a long time and typeless, enneagramless, or whatever. That's just weird.
They quote unquote know everything about anything.
That's weird.
Like, how do you not have a type?
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. Question. We're going. Is it possible for an SLE ILE to be social late? Listen. If the ILE, this is my opinion, if the ILE is going to be a TI ego, I'm going to type it SLE before I type it ILE. Mainly based on principle, because any base, it's weird. It's like you're completely just ignoring the fact it's an any base type, I guess. So, and with the new testimonies of the social aid which has come out, it is quite intellectualized type in some ways, right? And it fits, I would say it fits TI ego. This is someone who utilizes positions and is able to operate within them very well. So you can say there's a lot of TI for sure, mental TI, whatever. But we'll not know until the book drops. Just don't be surprised if it does come out to be SLE. It's not that weird. Maybe it's SLE, SE. It's not that weird. I mean, if it's ILE, I'm not gonna like throw a fit. If it is, it is, But it's a question. No one has ever even explained it fully. The any base part of the social aid, the any base part. No one has done that. That's my opinion.
I think my best case scenario with all this is that social aid becomes relevant for both SCE and SLE for different reasons. We have that kind of an initial SEE, someone who creates relationships, creates the complicity, the brotherhood, and acts in a way against establishment by protecting their herd, standing up for them. But then there's this other alternative that was coming out recently from the testimonies. It's this kind of like shadow emperor type, where it's like I'll infiltrate a system, I'll get a good position in it, and from there I'll dismantle it until it becomes exactly what I want it to be, and that'll be part of my rebellion, which definitely sounds more like, honestly, to me it sounds very SLE like, personally speaking, and the blockings make sense for SE, especially because it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think the new testimonies, you would type it SLE before you type it
Because
Something.
think about it. When you think about TI, when any is accepting, right, and then TI is producing, that is someone who wants to be a representative of a system. They want to be a symbol of it. They want to champion it. They want to make it stronger. What is, and then you have SE accepting, then producing TI. You have someone who is wants to be distant from systems, wants to limit the systems like authority over them. They want to benefit, but they don't want to really be associated with said system. To me, social eight, that new like archetype that's forming, the one that they join systems just to manipulate them, isn't that like textbook TI negative shit?
I see.
You know what I mean? That sounds
Also,
kind
they
of like
don't.
way more reasonable.
And so there is not. It doesn't seem super ego. They're not like cope the fuck out about it. They're just utilizing to rebel, and they're always.
Yeah.
Almost seems more conservative an approach too. It's very interesting.
Yes.
You know.
And my question mark is, my big question mark is, we have a lot of social aid SEE character examples that we've collected over the years off of this archetype of the previous work. And once again, that first example, someone who just creates loyalty chains, you know, to fight against systems, right?
Yes.
Like that's what it is at the end of the day.
Yes.
What is going to happen to them? Are we going to make, if it just becomes SLE only, are they all going to just be sexual aids?
I don't know.
You know,
I think there.
It's interesting.
I think probably there will be some cases where I don't think you can even justify retyping. You know, I think there are certain cases where it's not going to be possible, and I'm not sure if there's any need.
Exactly. So my thinking is, best case scenario, SLE just gets added to social aid, and now SLE doesn't have just one-to-one correlation anymore, and SE doesn't have to lose social aid.
Pretty much.
I think that would be the best case scenario.
We'll see how that goes. I'm very, very interested. Very interested because they're reading about. It's the topic is super interesting. So we'll see how all of it goes. But let's proceed. How too distinct from any in the superego versus it gets getting tricky because couldn't volition to do also considered internal characteristic? What do you think about this?
Okay. NE and SE are different in this regard because the parts about SE that you're referring to is
all right, direct. Don't worry.
It's being able to tell someone's determination, their willingness to push through obstacles, and that relates to the feasibility of their goals, right? That is more of a kinesthetic value according to socionics, right? For NE, it's a lot more about seeing whether or not you have that innate inner potential to have certain talents, personality manifesting in one way or another. And I can see why you think that there's overlap, right? But within the system, to me, it makes sense that will isn't something that's necessarily innate to any, and it's more innate to SE. And you can kind of tell those in the examples of those who have SE in their ego block or their id block versus those who have SE in their super ego and their super id. Clearly, there's a big struggle. Like EII is a perfect example of someone who has very strong NE, very tragic SE in their polar, and it's clear that they have a harder times making practical goals that would help them push forward. But they can easily tell you what they can and can't do. So I think the vision makes sense, especially in real life.
This guy is like ChatGPT. Insert a fucking question, he'll answer it. I like this a lot. Do you like classical socionics? Of course I like. I mean, we use classical socionics. And the answer I would say is simple. Original. Simple. Original. If this is the foundation, you cannot say, right? You cannot be this goofy. You cannot be a goofy cunt and say, I like socionics. I don't like Oshra. First of all, the word socionics, even the normal, nothing would be without Oshra. So why are you using a system called socionics if you don't fucking like Oshra? Or you disagree with Oshra? Why don't you call it something else? Circle jerk party or some shit. Well, why is it called socionics? The fuck? So that's my issue, right? It's original. That's what I give a fuck about. I ain't here for randoms making systems and shit. It's like saying I could make a system and be like, I made a system. I'm a motherfucking random. That's what I think. I am a random. So what the fuck? Okay? I could be a bullshit and be like, oh yeah, I'm a fucking genius. I'm not a random, trust me, I'm a genius. I can make this shit even a million times better. I have such capability, I could do this easily. I'll make a system much better and you will follow it. No, that's possible. Because we should innovate. We should develop, right? It makes sense. That's the fucking bullshit, okay? The point is, it's the original, it's the foundational, it's the motherfucking creating, the creator system, and it follows definitions. That's why I like it, because I ain't here. I'm just anti all of the bullshit, you know? That's simple as. I'm a random, you are nearly everybody who makes schools are randoms. That's how I view it. If you make a school, you shouldn't, you're a random. That's what I think. But that's my opinion. All communities have social games in circle jerking. Literally all of them. What circle jerks are special to Typology? You're right. Every single community is a jerk-off session. Every single one. It's crazy, but it doesn't matter where you go. Obviously, some more than others. But Typology attracts the fucking worst because it attracts mental illness. It attracts people seeking identity. Fucking unstable people. People who shouldn't even be on the fucking internet, to be honest with you. So, you know, we're kind of in a fucking shitty spot compared to many other communities. But have you seen some other communities? It's also fucking terrible. It's just human nature. So this is not just like, it's human nature.
Yeah, when we talk about the sociology of typology, it's interesting because that's actually one of the things that we were saying, that we begin to emulate the toxicity of like real life, like academia, where it's like there's like this rigidness, there's authority figures that come out, everyone is like, you know, an intellectual, and it's just like a shit show. So it's definitely true. This is not the only place this is happening, but Russ makes an excellent point. We don't get so much into personality, the deeper stuff, you know. I think the closest we'll get is like to a real life example is like a psychology department in academia.
I think it's crazy though. I think it's crazy how we are part of a community where it's completely okay and completely acceptable for someone to come along and then create a 1 billion word essay on who you are as a human being. I think it's crazy. Like genuinely, that's what typology is. Think about it. You are literally talking to each other about each other's personalities. That's goofy. Don't you think it's a bit goofy? And you're telling this person who they are or who they aren't. That's goofy. That's so weird. Okay? It's fucking weird. Why is this the fuck? That's weird. I think typology is very weird. SP8 is started up as a psychopath. True. So it started as a power of friendship. So sexually started as a sexual. Well, SP8, in my opinion, it's heavily stereotyped as someone who doesn't give two fucks, no loyalty, no bonds. I think it's fucked. I think it's fucked because I'm close to an SP8, and this is not the person I know. So it's SP8. Oh man, every type's bullshit, but the SP8 definitely is. If you want to watch, I would say a more realistic presentation of the SP8 in a movie, like one of the most realistic. His name is Butch, I think. Like not Butcher, but Butch. From the world, a beautiful place, a beautiful world, so something like this, a beautiful world, I think. And he's the main character in that movie, a criminal who is escaping. But one of the, in my opinion, most kind of accurate representations of SP8. Not a crazy degenerate, throwing bones through the windows. Nah, you know, just a normal human. He cares. as a normal human, but he's a bit more pragmatic. His values almost are very different from society, but he's still not a degenerate. He has a certain code. So I like that movie. Ring is in the basement. Oh wait, never mind. The true core of the Enneagram 8 is that they have much higher stress threshold than most people. Lust is a symptom of this. Wouldn't that be the other way around? Or you're saying because they have much higher stress threshold, now they need intensity to feel alive, because it's hard for them to feel alive, right? Like, is that what you're saying? Because I mean, I'd agree with that. To me, I think the Enneagram 8, what it is very desensitized human, very desensitized. Like, it's like, when you do pull-ups a lot and your skin is very thick, so it's you might do crazy shit to it, you don't feel it. It's the same thing with Enneagram 8 and emotions.
That's a great example.
I think, because, and it's so funny because this example is such a good example that parallels the Enneagram 8 journey 1-to-1. So what happens? You harden your skin, right, on your hands, because you, in a sense, you damage it, right? You damage the skin, because that's what happens. You do those pull-ups and you're maybe even bleeding. In the beginning, you're bleeding. It hurts. But over time, as you've been doing this 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, now you're building hard skin, building calluses. You're not bleeding anymore. But now you don't feel shit as easily. The skin is very hard. Same thing happens to the psyche of the Enneagram 8. And you now it takes a lot to shake you, and it takes a lot to make you feel alive, and it takes a lot to make you feel like you live a life, like you feel intensity. It takes a lot. It's not just about eating. It's, if you're eating something, make sure it's so spicy that most people would vomit, right? That's how I eat. If I eat food, that's how everything is. Music, loud, right? Food, fuck ton of calories. Probably even unhealthy. A healthy level of fucking calories. The more, the better. The more juicy, the better. The more spicy. Add million spices. Fuck it. Mix it all in. I want to feel the burning in my mouth. Because to me, that's where the joy gets. I get joy because I'm feeling this burn in my mouth. It feels good. It tastes good because it's burning. Imagine eating something and it's like there's no flavor. There's no flavor, there's nothing. What's the point? But if you feel this burning, this sensation, at least it feels good. It's tasty, So same thing here. Like, it's all about just being desensitized in your body, but also desensitized into emotions, So that's a cool kind of breakdown I thought about. Sol, yo, welcome to the chat, Sol. I see you followed. My advice to join the chat. Enneagram is in many ways spiritual. Reading about your time is very terrible. Or very validating. I don't think I've had that experience with other systems. It's more mental. I think it's because, as you said, there is obviously the origin of Enneagram is very spiritual. It came from that kind of more spiritual, very spiritual. Naranjo made it more clinical, but it still hits, right? Because you're reading almost like your own autobiography. And it's fucking cooked. For some people, it hurts. It hurts to read that shit. Especially if you're a person who, maybe one of your copes, is avoiding reality. It's avoiding the truth about yourself, avoiding your negative qualities. Good luck reading that shit. That shit's gonna fucking tear you apart, Because it's gonna be very brutal. But that's why I like it. I like Enneagram, and I've said this before, because I love how brutal and vicious it is. Because to me, it's not interesting if it's not traumatizing me. Simple. If it's not telling me horrible things about myself that I didn't know, I want to find and dig into my fucking childhood and shit, I love it. It's an amazing experience. But if it's just telling me, you're good at this, you're good at that, it's superficial. It's superficial. No one wants to sit here and get complimented. I'm sorry, I'd rather get fucking butchered like a pig. At least it is way more fun and way more interesting to understand yourself that way. I wouldn't have called myself an envious person prior to reading Enneagram 4. Also because it's envious in in the context of the passion of Enneagram 4. It's not, there's many people who can be envious, you know, but it's the passion of envy, which kind of transcends just, oh, I envy this person, you know.
Yeah, June, that's super relatable. Before Enneagram, I
For
wouldn't ever
probably
call
for
myself
most people,
a gluttonous person.
probably for most
at all.
people, right?
Like, what's the idea of, yeah, for most people?
For
like,
gluttonous,
you
what
wouldn't
does
see
that
yourself
mean?
way.
Gluttonous?
Yeah, that's weird. Even especially for me being a social 7, where I kind of like restrict myself naturally. It's like, I don't know. I've never had an issue with being gluttonous. I think I have a lot of control over what I do and what is good for me and yada yada yada. You know, that feeling can be very interesting when you go deeper down into a unconscious level. But yeah, June, I think it's for most people.
It is. For me personally, it was when I was to look. I always knew I was Enneagram 8, mainly because it's just so fucking, especially at that time in my life. You know, when you're young, I feel like you are more likely to indulge in those maladaptive behaviors. Maybe some shit happens. I mean, I knew. Obviously, the term last is kind of like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, obviously, I wouldn't know that. But if you would listed the traits, I'd be like, yeah, 100%, you know? And I would see that. So, but I think with the Enneagram 8, it's a bit more... I feel like, to me, in my opinion, the Enneagram 8 is one of the most obvious neuroses. It can be one of the most obvious neuroses, especially if you are Enneagram 8 yourself. It's kind of weird for someone to be confused if they're 8 or not. I personally always find that fucking weird. How the fuck don't you know? Okay? It's weird. But again, I'm a bit older. Maybe they're more young. Maybe they're like 20, 19. So maybe they haven't had the experience, didn't go through life as much, you know. So maybe there's that too. What does any creative look like? Your Ring, can you answer this question?
Any creative is interesting because most people are used to like any role, any base when it comes to that type of cognition. Any creative is always going to be oriented by either introverted thinking or introverted feeling. So it's important to keep that in mind when it comes to explaining it. But generally speaking, this is someone who is able to talk to you, learn a lot about you, characterize you, and later on, not like in any base, you know, or even any role where they start dropping things about you, right? They'll be like, oh yeah, you know, they'll talk to you for like a minute before it's like, you're a chatty person. You definitely can just talk all day, can't you? Hey, you know, they'll just start dropping stuff about you. Any creative is a little bit more precision, more surgical. They will tell you about your capabilities, especially in those moments where you doubt your position in a system or you doubt your relationship with somebody. You know, they will tell you in those peak moments you have this almost infinite capability to be able to care about your friends and love, and you deserve love for that. Or they'll tell you that you are extremely a great organizer. You literally have the ability to brighten up anyone's day, and this is why everyone always treats you kindly, you know, in our company or in our
the EII is going to circle jerk the fuck out of your internal qualities.
It's coming. It's coming, and they're kind of waiting for you to feel doubt in yourself, or they're just really flexing, and they're protecting themselves. When you pressure their SE vulnerable, they'll protect themselves by saying, in fact, I can do all these things. I've just chosen not to at this moment.
Oh my god.
Is general any ego response. I can do everything, but I have chosen not to.
I just
It's as
chose not
simple
to.
as that.
Fuck off. Fuck off. Seriously, fuck off. Jesus. But let's move on. How do I know if I'm an ILI or IEI? IEI is a more... Listen, those two types shouldn't be confused. I'm gonna be fucking honest with you. Maybe back in the day they should. IEI, vibrant, eccentric, whimsical motherfucker who has no issues imposing an emotional atmosphere on the people around them. No issue whatsoever. Which, by the way, for the ILI was gonna be criminal. It is a crime for the ILI to attempt to impose emotions on other people. The IEI has no issues. It's a whimsical motherfucker. It's a whimsical motherfucker. Those two types are similar. Get decapitated. I'm kidding. Don't get decapitated. What you think about this, by the way, question? Ring.
I think this question comes from two places.
I feel
Place
like,
one,
do you agree with my statement about how the IEI is? Positive
yes.
emotions, very
Oh
vibrant,
yeah.
colorful,
Oh, of
right? I
course.
mean, I'm
Yep.
not tripping.
No, 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 no. I think that people might get shocked when the II goes from like being like a true introvert, like social energy wise, to going to be like upbeat and being the center of attention. I mean, have y'all ever seen an SEI? They're very similar to that. They can kind of do the laid back, wallflower thing, but they can also be literally the funniest
Yeah.
person in the room, the one who is commanding attention. So it's very interesting. And the reason I know why this person has this like question, it's also been the sexual
Oh
fivification
fuck. Okay, so the
of IEI.
Enneagram 5 IEI, yeah, that, yeah,
It's really
yeah.
butchered the idea that they're like an openly emotionally provocative person. It's always like they're like low key provocative. Their face never changes,
Right,
and
but
your face will change. But
they can
their face will
manipulate
never
you, but
change.
subtle, in a subtle way. You will not know what hit you, type of way.
Yes,
Yeah,
that which is
yeah,
not
yeah.
no.
100%, 100%. Nope, nope, nope. Do you think typology should be implemented within mainstream psychology, and if yes, how? I don't believe it's such a difficult topic. Fuck, because psychology is bad enough. But first of all, we need to kind of prove the validity of it. Because it's not going to be accepted. Most people will not accept it unless we are able to prove validity and a consistency of the results. Socionics, I would not use it. Nope. Enneagram, yes. I would try maybe to implement Enneagram, but again, they will say it's pseudo-Freudian bullshit, So, to be honest, and I'm not sure if this would be helpful. Can you imagine more people, young people, being influenced by Enneagram or Socionics, circle jerking it the fuck out on the daily? Maybe even adjusting their whole personality. A person that's so young they don't know even who they are, but they already have a label. And they identify it. They don't know their strengths and weaknesses, which, by the way, you discover when you get older. You discover because of your own experiences, not because you have a system telling you. Do you want that? Typology is bad enough. I think anything to do with mental health, it's a dangerous fucking slope. That's my opinion.
I agree with that too. I do not even want to see.
Keep it separate, to be honest, because it will get cooked, like everything does. It's gonna be misused. Fuck, it's like no.
When political leaders have to take these tests, publicly demonstrate their types, and people vote on that information, which would definitely happen.
Not only that, they will publicly show their type. Not even by. Okay. There's no way to implement this in psychology because you would need to study this for years before you even can type. And I assure you, most people who would want to get typed, they don't even have a clue about it. So what happens is a certain type person takes a test, gets a result, and thinks, I am this type. And everyone's like, oh, they're this type. There's no, typology is very niche, but it's also something that requires you to learn over a period of years. It takes years to learn this shit. It's a mess. Did you vote? I did not vote. I didn't vote. Can Enneagram 5 be not so submissive? Since passion of avarice, why would they not be aggressive? They're not fucking aggressive about defending. No. Come on, what? Literally, don't thread on me, Snake. What? What you mean? Don't thread on me. You get slapped. Just like that. Be speaking that way, don't thread on me. That's what I'm saying. Like, Ring, can you answer this question? Because come on.
This person
I can't. No. No Enneagram 5 is going to be like, don't thread on me. Like, bro, you get pegged. That's the right nature of the Enneagram 5. There's no other way around it.
Yeah,
holy shit.
I think the fundamental thing people have to realize is that E5's primary defense mechanism is don't be there.
And you know what's crazy? They love being. And Enneagram 5 is not gonna mind you dominating him. He's not gonna mind it. Trust me, I'm literally friends with the 5 core. Bro is invisible. He is invisible, and you can fucking be the biggest fucking throw your balls around him, do anything. He is very, very passive and docile, and that's the way. This the 5 core fucking. Oh my god, man! What the fuck? Don't thread on me. What the fuck? Don't thread on me. This is someone who thinks they're a 5 core. This is someone who thinks they're a 5 core. They're not, because a 5 core would never even think of shit like don't thread on me or I'm gonna bite you. 5 core doesn't think that way, you know.
They're probably thinking more of like an SP7 and SP8.
Yeah, you are describing SP8. Aggressive,
Even
territorial.
SP7.
Did you describe SP8? Could you explain the difference between any leading and any creative? How is one of them? For fuck's sake. Okay, Ring, you can answer this one.
How is one more flamboyant than the other? Who told you one is more flamboyant than
And I'm not sure if I like the word flamboyant.
Yeah, what is this even? I'm gonna disregard that second part. Could you explain the difference between any leading and any creative? One is accepting, one is 4 dimensions, one is producing, one is 3 dimensions, one is on the creative function, one is on the leading.
And I also don't like to, and I hate this type of typing too. I hope it's not used to type, because I don't like this. Like, what's the difference between like FI based and FI creative? It's like, so you're stuck between probably like ESI and SEE. So why I'm not looking for the blocks at the whole thing, you know? Like I know they're really different, but would you say Enneagram 2 are more likely to be envious of others? No. I think it would be weird for Enneagram 2 to be more envious of others. It's not to say an Enneagram 2 can feel envy. That's not the case. But to say that they feel more envious of others than Enneagram 2, something went wrong with the passion and the fixation. And the reason why I say that is, how are we going to have passion of pride and fixation of false abundance? Now, listen to this. False abundance, right? Which is obviously a fucked up, distorted idea that you are so indispensable, irreplaceable, important, the most loving, the most generous, the most helpful, the most, just everything. You love like no one else loves. Do you think that person would feel more envy than the social four? With this mindset that they are more full of everything than other people? The answer is no. And Ring can add on this.
There's literally nothing to add. You got it on the money.
There you go. Thank you. And you know, 3E is just insecure in their emotions, not strictly stoic. For sure. I mean, and it depends. Like, which are you talking about? Which 3E?
Yep.
Which 3E? But conforming to what could be socially appropriate. But can you say 3E is this hyper openly emotional character not giving a fuck? No. Okay, you cannot
remember that meta. Oh my god.
You can remember the Conor McGregor VFEL meta.
Oh my god, people.
The guy's like laughing and spurging, and it was like 3E. It's like,
that's 3.
What? Mate, the fuck are you talking about here? It's crazy. It is crazy.
Remember how much shit we got months ago for saying that 1v3e doesn't make someone theatrical? It actually does the opposite, where they become.
It should make them more.
And
like the, you know, the SLE, SPA, who actually obviously is not gonna start spurgy emotions. He actually gonna be what? More cold, right? More tough, a tough character, right? It makes sense because he's trying to control his weakness, his emotions. He doesn't allow that to be a weakness. So how does he do that? Does he not allow his weakness by simply not giving a single fuck about that and expressing himself freely, or being the hardened character, tough, not allowing emotions get in the way of his decisions, you know? Passive. Every 5 is more passive. There's no way around it. But I don't like to type people, and you should never type people by that. Can I be if I'm passive? Can I be if I'm... It's not a good way to type, you know, because a sexual 5 can be passive a lot of the time. Then in that situation, they might be aggressive and reactive. Does that change their typing? What about a sexual 4 who is aggressive? Then in this time, they're docile. What does that mean? Right? Risky business. Risky business. I've heard people mention how sexual 6 can be defensive to those outside their circle. Does that mean they act cold in most cases? Can they put a cat in front? Would that fix their fixation? That wouldn't fix their fixation. Can they put... Can they put... It definitely wouldn't be that easy to break away from the fixation. You know? Just wouldn't. Can they put on a kind front? Yeah, but I don't... In my opinion, a sexual 6 always... generally is gonna come across as a more of a distrustful, cold motherfucker. That's what I think. I don't think this is gonna be like, yes, I'm kind and I'm... They will always be like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Who touched him when he was young? That's the vibe you get. You meet him, chill. And you think to yourself already, take the stick up your ass, from your ass, and let's have a conversation. You acting all fucking weird. And you know he's one step away from spurging at you. Because maybe you make him feel something. So he's gonna fucking be like, I was in the army, bro. It's like, calm the fuck down. Holy shit. Calm the fuck down. When typing yourself, should you look for the big picture pipeline, almost life-defining passion, more abstract, or the little in-the-moment reactions to threatening events? What if you do both? I would say always, right? When it comes to true typing, it is the theme that has been marked in your life, throughout your life. It's true. So first, I would say, big picture. First, passion. Now, to find the passion, you can look into behaviors. Because behaviors can be a symptom of the passion. So look at it, but you don't need to focus on just, I did this yesterday, I did that yesterday. Look at the big picture. Look at your whole life. Look at your whole life, your interactions with people, your difficulties, what got you into trouble. Analyze it from that lens. And then you can take a more specific approach to it. But passion should be visible. Passion, it should be visible, you know. And not only that, I would tell you fixation should be visible. And in many ways, maybe even more visible for you. Because a fixation is a mental belief. Passion is an emotional drive, which is unconscious. Fixation is a mental belief, a set of beliefs that justify your passion, right? So in a way, it might be even easier for you to justify your fixation. For me, I know fixation is one of the easiest things because it's the worldview. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've been saying this kind of shit since I was young, right? Strong this, weak this, right? It's not revenge needs to be like this. Revenge has to be like that. Fuck with me, I fuck with you double. Normal, right? Since the beginning, it's easy. Maybe with passion, it's like, yeah, but how do I feel about this? Do I feel this passion thing? Yeah, but I don't know. So in many ways, if I was you, I would just look at what I can see more. Passion, fixation, and that's my opinion. Right?
I think that's a great explanation, to be honest.
Okay. Let's keep going forward. People who see me on the outside think I am an ILI. But people who get to know me really well, I see more IEI. If they from the outside think you're an ILI, it's a bit weird. I think. What do you think? Do you think it's a bit weird that from the outside they think she's... I feel like from the outside an IEI should stand out more, right? From the outside. While maybe even closely the ILI might seem more like...
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah, to be honest, this is like arbitrary.
I feel like
arbitrary.
most people look like NPCs when they don't know you. unless you're literally like main character energy, guns
Yeah.
blazing, going into
Right.
every room, like displaying your personality,
Right.
most people look at you be like, ah, look, another one of the millions and millions of NPCs I see in my city. Like,
Yeah,
and I
maybe.
guess ILI kind of fits that.
And
SLI
also,
fits it too.
I also think why it's less to do like why they see you, but why you're inexpressive, you're cold, sus, sus. I inexpressive and cold, sus, sussy baka. Do you still think LIE works alongside SP7? Take this one.
I think that SP7 works for LIE more than Social 3 does. I think LIE is a very E7 sociotype. I don't think that it's going to be better than Social 7 by far. SP7 has a lot of static elements to it when it comes to its descriptions. And we know that in classic socionics, your mental ring is king. And what do we see in the SP7? Talks of how people relate to each other, talks of privileges and benefits because of that, talks of materialism, what resources someone has, talks of loyalty and connection and these familial units. There's not much talk. There's not much talk about expression. There's not much talk about like creating comfort, mutual happiness. A lot of these things are not very super ego FESI. It's a lot more super ego SETI, SEFI. A lot more static in nature. I think LIE SP7 is fine. I just think that most examples of an LIE is going to be a social 7. Probably 9 times out of 10, unless we're like typing like an anime character. Like an example of this is like Askeladd from like Vinland Saga, where I feel like he probably is an LIE SP7, but that's anime, you know, that's not like real life either.
Yeah,
So I would say that
anime.
generally no. I think almost every single accurately typed LIE will relate to Social 7 over SP7. Most likely, if you relate to SP7 more than LIE, you should consider ILE or IEE.
Isn't it weird for social 7 to be 0.8 in each other? Maybe more for an ILE than LIE, like the Viking guy Lovebrook. Javier types in social 7, but I get it's kind of weird for social 7.
This I don't know where this came from. This whole like Ragnar Lothbrok is weird for Social 7 when he is literally point blank, extremely chauvinistic. He is actually very indirect in comparison to other Vikings. He is someone that is driven just simply by curiosity and not rebellion or any other motivators. He is someone that wants to be a virtuous apostle, and he's not somebody who is going out of his way to like engage in lust more than the average Viking of that time. I think you really need to compare him to other Vikings of the time, and not him to like your average social 7 who works in corporate in modern days. I don't think it's weird for him to be social 7 at all. He might be one, in my opinion. P8 for social 7, I don't like.
Yeah.
P7
That's
is
weird.
like almost like a perfect fit for social 7.
It's how would you justify P8 for social 7?
Yeah,
I'm not even sure
just,
you can. It's
you
weird.
if you went social 7 to like okay, if you want correlations from Ishazo, it would be P7 first. Then you can like talk between P2,
P2,
P3,
yeah, P2, yeah.
and P2, right? Then you could talk about P3 potentially.
Yep, and then
we haven't even talked about P5 yet.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. What about P1? Would P1 even be in the question then?
Yes, it's at
So
the same level
PA would be like
than the PA.
The PA would be like one of the last ones.
Yeah, it's not even up.
Okay, so we're basically saying it's cooked beyond belief.
It's cooked. There's so many better options, you know. Like what? Like it doesn't make sense.
Long-term mistypes are mentioned in the books several times. Are there types this happens with more? Are there types this happens with more? You can forcefully say, yeah, I'm sure there are certain types that have a harder. I've seen all kinds of people struggle with typing. All kinds of people. Seriously. And it's hard to just say those types of people struggle with typing or they will change their type. In the typology community, and it really did make me laugh when I was retyping myself in classical. There were multiple people making videos about it. It made me laugh because some of them were acting so dramatic, you know. Oh, it's a big deal. Oh, I don't know if he can continue doing this typology thing. Wow, it's so how can we believe him? It's just the most like a bunch of children reacting. What the fuck? What's wrong with you? But yeah, okay, it's everyone will mistype 1,000,000,000%. Everybody. It's such a nonsensical normal thing. I'm always gonna be surprised if you don't mistype yourself. It's such a normal thing. It's a given. You will mistype. It's a given. 100%. So that's it. Don't even think what types. It's a given. You'll mistype, regardless of type. And of course, long-term mistypes, those might happen because understand that typology is all about perception. And not only that, it's about a framework. There's no evidence for this shit. There's no way you put out a ruler and you measure it. Okay, well, this is 10 centimeters. And it says if it's beyond 10 centimeters, this is a C. Above 10 centimeters is a C. Beyond 10 centimeters is an E. That would be easy. But it's all about the perception. So, in a sense, it's also about the angle you take. If it's perception, meaning you can have different perceptions, correct, of the same object. So you're cooked. One person can look at something, look at it from a different angle. Another person can look at it from a different angle. You are cooked beyond belief. That's why typology is such a fucking mess. That's why there are long-term mistypes, but they don't surprise me. Fuck off. Fuck off. They don't surprise me. Right? Because guess what? It's normal. It's expected. That's my take. Can anyone mention an Enneagram 5 athlete? Are you trolling? Enneagram 8 athlete. First of all, to be an athlete, not only you need to be physically capable as a motherfucker, which the 5 isn't. Second, you need to be physically active as a motherfucker, which the 5 isn't. Thirdly, as the most basic step, you have to leave your basement. That's like the hardest step, and it's for the 5, and it's the first step. So, yeah. I'm fucking with you guys, of course. Assertive does not mean aggressive. There's not. Can someone show me a quote where Naranjo said anything about the 5 being assertive in any way? And if it does, I'm gonna apologize. Just one quote. That them being assertive. 1V is more fragile than it is credited for. But it is self-validating and regards volitional identity, meaning it. No. This is this. And we talked about this how many times on stream? How 1V is a sigma. It's almost like 4V. They don't care. Like, it's a bum. They don't give a fuck about their image. They don't give a fuck about their reputation. They don't give a fuck about their pride. It's a bum. A true 1V is a bum. If you call them shit, you hurt their pride, they're not gonna move, they're not gonna care. Because a true sigma, like a true sigma doesn't react. A true sigma is non-reactive. Which is funny, because all of those people, they don't understand that in their own view, the true sigma is the 4V. That's the true sigma. Their 1V is much more sensitive, which makes sense. It's the first placement, right? So yes, of course, there's certain type of sensitivity, a lot of pride. And if you wound that pride, you will be removed. So this is what happens. But that's why you shouldn't have a bunch of fucking low self-esteem motherfuckers influencing perceptions of types. Holy shit, you know? And then it becomes this. Oh my god, yeah, okay. Ring, what do you think about this fucking quote?
I have so much to always say about the volitional placements. I think you solidified it. I think we can save some time on this one.
Thank you. Am I schizo for thinking only Enneagram 1 can be 1V? Yes. You are, I would say,
Yep.
I would say you're schizophrenic. And I'd
Yeah.
say yellow papers, schizophrenia on the spectrum. You have everything. I'm fucking with you. But he says he says a bad take. He recognizes it's a bad take. I think Enneagram 1 is 1V blueprint.
Correct.
Correct. It's so funny that the first statement was so bad, but the second statement you made was so good. You went from like, I will get decapitated to I should be the authority. I'm the intellectual giga chat Socrates. That's the huge difference that you made with that, because you're right. The Enneagram 1 is, now by the way, when we're saying 1V, syntax of love, 1V. That's very important. Syntax of love, definition of 1V. It is the blueprint. The blueprint. Do you guys, and those that put in time into typing others and dissecting people in typology terms, struggle with interacting with people in other communities because of their lack of awareness? In real life, online. Online, I don't know, online. I mean, I don't really do that. In real life, again, I don't go around trying to type people. I just feel like I don't give a shit, you know? And in person, I'm not going around and trying to figure out their type. Unless it maybe they say something, maybe I see something that's so obvious, it kind of is almost like stands out to me, and I notice it, and then I'm like, haha, that's really funny, that's kind of like X, Y, and Z, right? But beyond that, I don't care, because I just feel like real life interactions with people, I'm not sure if I like to introduce typology to that, you know? And the thing with just communities and people, most of them are young. Most of them haven't grown. Most of them haven't developed. Most of them are there just, by the way, not even for them to grow, not for them to develop or to learn. They're there to circle jerk. Literally, they're not there. They're only there because it's cool. Yeah. I mean, that's why. So that's my fucking take. Online, I'm an SPA. Yeah, online that's where you that's where you protect your territory, right? Online you protect your fucking territory. I get that. You know,
Yo, you're real for that, Spurted.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. That's great. My mom's
Everyone online is like an expert, but
Yeah.
like in real life, they won't even open their mouth to explain their
literally, it's like
perspective or
online you're like
something.
the totem of knowledge. In real life, it's like you can't even count 1 + 1. It's like, what the fuck happened to you? But, LMAO, my mom's boyfriend is a sexual truck driver who's serving in Iraq. And okay, it's so crazy. I nailed that, right? Kind of cosplay of the Section 6, but I find it a bit annoying. Obviously, not every Section 6, but it's kind of like they think something's gonna happen. They're already assuming that it's dangerous. You're talking to them, and they need to prove themselves. It's fucking just. We can talk normally, but and it's funny because it's this kind of truck driver. He was in Iraq, but he was serving with this shit military. Like, even fat people are in this military. You know, the 5 pull-ups to pass, and he's kind of a tough guy. And it's like, buddy, like you are not in the elite special forces. You know, you are like in some shitty military that like most fat dudes can pass. It's kind of weird, but it is the Section 6 energy. But okay, you know, cool. Personally, listen, my attitude with military would be like, if I'm not in the best military, I don't know why I should even be like proud of it or bragging about it. It's weird. It's like, yeah, why would you be proud, for example, of being in like Marines? You know those Marines? Might be a hot take. I think they're corny. Cause and people like, I'm a Marine. It's like, bitch, I could be a Marine. Like, what? I do some push-ups, pull-ups, dips. I could be a Marine. Yeah, okay. It doesn't mean shit. It's not impressive. It ain't fucking shit. It's so, if you're a Marine, stop bragging. Okay, it's do your job, but don't be bragging about that shit. It's goofy. It's goofy. Any half capable fucking individual would be able to do it. Holy shit. Can fear make 1v seem more submissive if they care about the consequences, or passive if they don't like strong opinions on the results?
Let me answer this.
Yeah, Ring, take this one.
I have a perspective that might be different than what people might think about. Most people might be thinking if 1v is afraid of something, that might even invalidate them for being the first volition. But I actually think that what you're describing here, that type of fear or just adaptation, I would like to say, exists within a lot of great examples of 1v types. Almost all the Giga Chad 1v Enneagram subtypes, you would notice them, right? All do this exact same thing where they adapt in a certain way to ensure that a system or a consensus of people won't just punish them and straight up kill them. So they will pretend to be a sheep. They'll pretend to be part of the group. They'll pretend to be part of the collective, and then they would change it based off of what they think is their ideal, usually in pro-social, lawful ways. And a lot of it is because of a fear of complete annihilation from organized structures. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, 1Vs never feel fear," or 1Vs wouldn't care. They would
okay,
just
that's
rebel.
anime. Now we're in anime.
That shit's anime. 1Vs are afraid, but that doesn't stop them for going for what they want.
It's like saying 1Vs don't fail.
Yeah.
Only like no. Okay, it's like saying 1V doesn't feel the pressure. The pressure of
depression.
The pressure, but also the pressure of the world. Let's say you are the most famous football player. You've 1v. You so 1v. You don't feel zero pressure.
You're Tom Brady.
Zero pressure. But it's not that you don't feel pressure. You feel pressure. It might even bother you. But the difference is that no matter what, no matter how much pressure, you will keep going because you know that your path is more fucking important than anything else. It's also a principle, to be honest, because will you allow 100 fucking however millions of individuals to break your spirit? I don't give a fuck how many. Will you allow them to break your spirit? No. So yeah, you will keep fucking going. But everyone gets bothered, everyone gets scared. It's more like, will this little pressure from your family, they want you to study and be this person, they don't approve of you, will that dictate your actions? Will now you adapt and make sure that they are proud of you? That, you don't want to be a disgrace in your family's eyes? Or will you say, fuck that? And you say, fuck all that shit? Do you feel good about it? No, you don't. Does it bother you? Yeah, it does. You're a human being. But you're not gonna fucking piss around and adapt because some jerk off wants you to. You're not gonna bow to the pressure. Not depression, the pressure. That's my take.
I think this is a solid take.
Yeah? Okay. This one. I want you to answer this one because I know Soul. I want you to circle jerk it the fuck out. Like, circle jerk this shit.
Really?
Yeah, because this person...
sure?
No, I'm not kidding. Because this person wants help.
Huh? They need help. Okay. All right. I want you to think about what you just did, okay? Can you give some examples of how social E7 manifests for you? Have you had difficulties recognizing the type in you? What was your reaction when you discovered the type? I've actually written about this. For those who want to see any of that. Check out my link tree, right? Go to my PDB page, and in my worldview section, I actually wrote.
Maybe I can find the link. I can copy it.
Yeah, can you put it into the chat because that's gonna help them a lot. Examples of how social 7 manifests for you. I do the general. I'm gonna try to, instead of giving you specific examples, because I think one of the problems people have with social sevens sacrifice is that they think it just happens sporadically. People need to see that the sacrifice of the social seven is an engine. So I'm going to talk to you from the perspective of this is a consistent neurosis that's constantly happening for me. I want you to think that in your mind, since an earlier time in your childhood, you have internalized the utmost absolute virtues that a person should have, the utmost like capabilities, virtues, moral code, idealized self that you should be. And this is spawned from you since a child. For most social sevens, it's being benevolent, intellectual, superior, charismatic, risky, everything that makes someone like amazing and extraordinary. You've kind of internalized that at some point. And every time anyone, including you, recognizes yourself to be that way, you get a shot of like adrenaline and a feeling of rush that you are this great person and you deserve love. And so every single day, you have that mold, that mold of extraordinariness. That's what we're going to call it, what we just described, that you got from your childhood, a mold of extraordinariness. And that shit is always there. And you are constantly filtering your real personality, the person who you actually naturally are without any restrictions, through that filter and trying to excise the parts of you that you deemed lesser, inferior even, and the parts that you like, which you consider superior, extraordinary, you push through. So you restrict, relinquish, hyper control yourself in everything you do, and the versions of the version of you that you really do want, the one that's like so idealized it's not even real, you push forward and you have everyone see you like that. So whenever I'm doing anything, there's always a part of me that's locked in to what the ideal is. And I always look at like perspectives, like if I'm going to be in a podcast, here's my ideal of me being in a podcast. I'm going to be kind, I'm going to be funny, I'm going to be informative, I'm going to positively impact the community, I'm going to make sure people have a good time, I'm going to be that person that can change someone's day by just talking to them. That type of like narcissistic thinking. If I'm playing a video game, I'm going to be the best. I will be the person who can carry the team. I can carry the team even if there's a deficit. I will be able to keep my cool no matter what and always provide a solution. If I'm going out on a date with my girlfriend, I'm going to be the best boyfriend ever. I'm going to be like the absolute Casanova romance lord. There's nothing that I can say or do that wouldn't be like seductive. You know, if I'm doing a job, I'm going to be the best at that job. I'm going to be like a high roller. I'm gonna make so much money, and not because I need the money, because that's an indication of my success. Everything I do, there's a standard, a metric in which I'm trying to aspire to, and if I don't reach that metric, that is like a significant psychological blow. It is.
That sounds like a hard life, though. That sounds like a very hard life.
Because
you need to perform at this high level. You need to everything you do. You and this also means you think a lot about everything, about yourself in a sense, and how what you just did, and your actions, and if you're doing enough, and that's crazy work.
And the worst part of it is when you double dip those standards into gluttony. Because remember, when you are extraordinary, when you reach your standards, it feels like adrenaline. It feels like a rush. You get your gluttony as a social seven from that type of validation. So every time you reach a goal, you get to that point that you idealize for yourself, you know what you do next? That goal becomes like a plebeian, like it becomes lesser than you. Something that you did yesterday. Something that, of course, you know, I was meant to do that. That was too easy. You make the goal even further. You send it for the fucking moon. The words that they use in the book is that you send it to heaven. Like you make that goal so unreachable, but that's why you strive for it, because it feels so good to do the unreachable, the unthinkable, something no one has ever done before.
Holy shit!
And that's the connection to like a social vibe as well. So every time you do anything, you filter yourself out to be that hyper controlled that ideal self, rejecting the real self, and be the version that you designed yourself to be. And once you get there,
Wow.
you move the goalpost so it's even more.
I
Like,
feel
okay,
I feel
fine.
for you.
If your goal
'Cause-
was to be like a social leader, cool, you become a senator, and guess what you're gonna be thinking? I should be president. I should
wow.
be president. And then once you become president, it's like this is good and all, but I could be helping people around the globe. I should be some sort of universal leader. And it
Wow.
sounds
What the
fantastical. It
fuck?
sounds stupid, actually. I will say that's stupid. But your brain keeps on moving the goalposts because once you establish that you can meet the ideal, it's no longer in heaven. It's with you in this conversation, in this basic, room. It's not in heaven anymore. It's not some place far away
So what
that
happens when you
makes it
just chill?
instantly.
When you just decide I'm chilling? Is there even such a thing as I'm chilling?
What do you mean by that? Like, can you give me some more?
Not
What
striving.
do you mean by chilling?
Like not striving, just
Not
living in the
striving,
moment. Just living purely in the
living in the
moment,
moment.
enjoying the fucking moment, and just that's it.
I wouldn't be surprised if Social Seven. I wasn't seven that felt like this way, but since I was young, I always needed to earn leisure time, to relax, to not be working on a project, to do nothing,
So you
and
have
then I
to
can't do
earn it
that
in
for
some
long.
way.
My optimal is that I accomplish things in a day, and then I have like 2 hours to chill. That makes sense to me. But if I wake up and just start chilling, that I instantly start feeling guilt. I start feeling the ideal filter not working.
Yeah,
I
because yeah,
mhm.
you're not achieving it. Wow,
Yes.
bro,
Yeah.
you need therapy. Holy shit. Like holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. You don't understand how controlled I am. Like it. This is I thought it was an E1. Like I thought it was social one because I related to that perfectionism. I
Wow.
everything I do,
Wow.
I do it for me, and I can never please myself, no matter what I do. I can only be momentarily content before it runs out, and
Fuck.
then I move the goalpost.
Fuck. And they say neuroses are equal. I really don't think so. Like, I think some are cooked, you know? Because I would send you to therapy just because you're a social seven. Not even because, like, you have trauma. You are a social seven. You need therapy. Because it's a fucking hard life, you know?
Yeah, and just to answer this soliloquies restless
Yeah.
question, have you had difficulties recognizing the type in you? Yes, I thought I was E1, E3, other E7 in the past, even like parts of E2. And if we got the information we got on like social 8 right now, maybe even like I don't. And social 7 is kind of like has a lot of traits of the other types. I would say that the best way to describe a social 7 is just an E7 with E1's reaction formation. I think that's a great way to do it. But yeah, I confuse myself for a lot because I have that perfectionism, the E1. I have the success orientation and action orientation of the E3. I have the seduction type of vibes, be this like really charismatic guy type of the social too. Um, there's a lot of me that you can really spread around, but there's not like a particular package. So I did mistype a lot. What was your reaction when you discovered the type? I felt like a fraud, and I always kind of knew like I was a fraud, right? I always knew that, but I felt like a bigger fraud because at
Wow.
some points I was able
Yeah.
to massage my own self understanding that I was this person that could do it all. That the only thing that was limiting me was circumstances or my desire to go through great challenges to do so, like or get killed or something. Like I've thought to myself that I could really imagine myself doing anything, and when I read about the social seven, it's like, oh wow, I didn't get it. Like for many months, I typed myself SP7 over social seven because I just didn't understand it, and it took like half a year for me to finally understand that like everything I do it because at some point I associated these good traits of mine, these idealized traits of mine, as being loved. And everything I do is kind of like coming from that. Even if I believe in activism, if I believe in some moral background, like I was vegan for like 2 years almost. I was Buddhist for like 2 years too.
This
All these
guy.
little things. Like
Let's
I
get crazy.
believed in those, thinking it was some deeper
Right.
moral outcome, and that's where like like social one made a lot of sense for me. I was like, because I really believe in these things, and then learning that I'm actually a lot more fraudulent. I cut corners, I cheat, and I don't just cheat like others, I cheat myself too. Like there's a lot of like mental gaming that happens with all like the E5s, E6s, and E7s. There's a lot of mental game playing with yourself, but it's very bad with the social 70 because you lose yourself kind of like in fantasy as well of your omnipotence, your grandiosity, and you package yourself as someone who's humble about
Wow.
it.
You broke down
So
it.
most people don't call you about it.
Wow. But it's okay. You have me, so definitely call you about it. I'm gonna.
So how?
I'm the perfect of bursting bubbles of delusions. Like no. But on a serious note, I think you broke it down so fucking mechanically, step by step. It's crazy. It's crazy, and also shows the amount of self awareness you have. Because this shit requires,
Yes.
people don't understand how much self awareness this shit requires. It's most geeks in typology who love to fucking talk about typology haven't done even 10% of that, of actual self awareness. It's for cosplaying part.
It's
So
true.
this is very hard. I'm telling you guys, very fucking hard. I relate to these mental games, really. I thought I was a mentally perfect person until I realized I was fucking morally wrong. Acting cute and weak made others think I was more ethical. What do you think of this statement, Ray? How does this relate, for example, to some typologies?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about social seven, right? So this is great. For social seven, I was mentally perfect person. Social two, the so Constance is someone who relates to being initially a character of high moral standards that is a standardized morality, unlike the E8's personal justice type thing going on. This is someone who believes that they are a civilized person with a strong backbone of ethics higher than those of others. And realizing that after some point that they were playing mental intellectual games with themselves to make themselves feel and appear that they were a lot more ethical, a lot more virtuous, a lot more benevolent than they actually were. Social ones and social sevens are probably one of the best examples of doing this. Social twos as well is kind of high. um but yeah, you can do that. You can trick yourself into believing this about yourself too, and you're gonna note that a lot of the 1B types kind of do this, Rust, where they always re-justify everything that they do was some actual greater good, that there was actually altruism and benevolence behind what they were doing. Like when a social one is correcting you, Rust, like we had a social one, not like a
Oh
like
yeah,
a
when those
team
people
social.
take it to the next level, right?
They'll be like, you're actually wrong about all this. They'll correct, really like rude. They'll like correct you. They'll be cold. They'll seem above you. But if you ask them, why are they doing that? Why do you want to seem so above everybody? They will literally just tell you, oh no, I just want to make sure this information is accurate. I want to make sure the community has access to good information. I want to make sure that people don't get confused. It's not about being superior. Like there's this idea that everything they're doing benevolent, altruistic, morally sound than it actually is.
So what happens if the social 7 fails? Do they just hide it?
Yes, I would say that. Well, this is complex because there's a lot of different avenues. Okay, if the social seven fails, let's say there's a project that the social seven wants to do, and it's an idealized project. They're addicted to idealization, and right, it's a big idealized project. The social seven is likely failing because it's way too unrealistic. Even if they get 70% of the way there, right, and it's like pretty good. Like let's say they aim to be president and they become just a social seven will consider that a failure. They didn't get to do the thing they actually wanted to do, and they're going for contingency project. However,